All right. Hi, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well out there and you're staying strong, staying narc free, being vigilant in your recovery with everything that's going on out there. I just want to talk a little bit about, narcissistic abuse and homelessness. Um, because as most know already, this administration has criminalized homelessness, and I have experienced chronic homelessness because of narcissistic abuse and toxic, dysfunctional, households and families and things of that nature. And I'm just working in my recovery to be less reactive, to remain calm, to stand firm and endure till the end. The days are growing colder. They're growing more wicked. People don't care. They don't love their neighbors. First of all, they don't obey the first commandment, which is to love the Most High, Yahuwah, with all your heart, mind, and soul. And therefore, the second commandment is to love thy neighbor as thyself, and to not bear false witness against your neighbor. But in these biblical end of days, we will be facing that tribulation, family, where people will conjure up stories and make things up about you. I experienced it at my last apartment, where I was just demanding respect, from these Christian neighbors, because anybody can say they're a Christian, but you know them by their fruits. And they certainly were not believers to me. They lied against me. They had cops come to my home saying I was crazy, because, yes, I was extremely livid and angry. I am a survivor of narcissistic abuse. I've been isolated and alone for many, many years. I don't have a safety network or any connections or friends or family, because of the toxicity and the dysfunction, and you can't go to this system for help. And with Trump, and the healthcare system, now we're getting into the biometric tracking system. Okay, so in order for you to keep anything in this world, you are going to have to participate in this biometrics beast system, digital ID, and all these things, to stay relevant in this system, to be able to have food and shelter. So I don't allow anybody who's toxic, narcissistic, and judgmental to put me down for having governmental assistance, such as Social Security, disability. If you've never experienced narcissistic abuse, then I suggest, I really don't know what to suggest. I earned my Social Security, disability. I earned my Medicare, my Medicaid, and my food stamps. And I just don't care who likes it or doesn't like it. And my homelessness was because of domestic violence and narcissistic abuse. I was not a drug user. But because of this evil, wicked, demonic system and the way it operates, my dysfunctional family was putting me in hospitals and medicating me, and I was getting worse. There were, and nobody believed me about what was happening in my home with this, the satanic and witchcraft abuse. I don't even recall if I told anybody, to be honest with you. I don't even recall if I told them what was happening to me. And what I was experiencing in my home growing up. I was a foster child, and then I was adopted at 5 years old. So this was not my biological family. I started being sexually abused at 3 years old as a foster child. And this system does not care about foster children and what happens to that foster baby. And that eventually they adopted me and all these things. There's no support out here. There's no help. The family I was adopted into was extremely dysfunctional, extremely abusive. demonic to the core, just straight demonic. And the only comfort I found was in scripture. I could read at 5 years old. I might not have been able to comprehend, exactly everything I was reading. I had learning disabilities, uh, hearing disabilities, hearing impairments. So, yeah, please, these people on these platforms that are just so disgusting, so nasty, so Nazi like with their thinking about the disabled, and homelessness. My first real experience was when my homosexual brother, who was very abusive, always beating me up, basically, always taking my mom's curtains and trying to force me to stand there and make this dress on me. And I hated it. I just hated it. He was very abusive growing up, my brother, always beating me up. I had, bloody noses and all this different stuff, just always chaos and in the home, just complete chaos. There was never any peace, and I think a lot of that had to do with the Ouija boards and the tarot card readings my mom was doing. Our home was just a complete open door to the devil. So that's why, it takes time to heal, and talking about witchcraft and satanic abuse is very taboo. People are going to think you're crazy and label you, and they did. So that's kind of how the narcissistic dysfunctional family operates. Once they have you labeled and on medication, nobody takes what you have to say at that point seriously. So, yeah, we're in perilous times, and certainly the love of many is waxing cold, and it's a sign of the times, that we are certainly living in. Because the only thing a narcissist cares about is themselves. They don't care about the pain and the damage and the hurt and the suffering that they are causing you in the home or anything. And when I went to my mom about my sexual abuse, the school called my mom. They were concerned, about me, my behavior, and all these things. And I didn't have any help from the so-called family of, that adopted me. So I was a child, a young child with no help. Everyone called me a liar. My brothers all said I'm a liar, and this person, would never touch me and abuse me. And it's just it's disgusting. It's disgusting. So, I just don't have time for people who have, no love in their hearts for homeless people. And it's just sickening to me. It's sickening. And the fact that pretty much, everyone is basically one or two paychecks away from homelessness. Okay. So, and you're going to have to receive the mark of the beast and be part of the digital currency if you're going to maintain in this system. So yeah, it's a very serious, situation for a lot of people right now, right? I lost my last apartment because I had neighbors who were disrespecting me, throwing rocks at my cat, hitting it with a broom, telling people that I'm crazy. And with this new executive order, people are going to be turning in their neighbors. They're going to be turning you in, and they're going to be handing you over, just like the Bible said. People who believe in the Bible, we're going to be deemed mentally unstable. People who talk about narcissistic abuse and our trauma, and heaven forbid we become reactive or angry, we're going to be labeled as unstable. This is the antichrist beast system that's rising. And I was persecuted for my faith, living in my satanic family. So yeah, I just pray that y'all are staying strong and you're heeding these warnings. And for those who do like my post and what have you, I appreciate the support. I'm not here begging for money. but yeah, it's going to get really hard out here, and it is hard, and I'm still in the process of trying to maintain my Section 8 housing, and but it's coming for everybody. So please, stop being so judgmental and critical and nasty, because a lot of people are homeless because of domestic violence and narcissistic abuse. And that's where my homelessness began. And that's where my journey began, when I realized that my family was toxic and demonic and evil, and there's no love, there's no compassion, there's no empathy, there's no care. So yeah, and then, you go to the system for so-called therapy. That's what all these narcissistic abuse channels tell you. Oh, go to therapy, go to therapy. Listen, you got to make your own choices. You got to use wisdom and discernment, but they will weaponize that against you. And guess what? You're not going to go to therapy unless you're part of the biometric beast system. And if they think you're unfit or you're crazy, you have to be so careful what you talk to with a therapist. That's why you need to, really, really use wisdom out here on these platforms. If you are in therapy, use discernment, because yeah, they can weaponize it all against you. And my therapist office is cashless, so I already see the writing on the wall. And I'm, in order to keep housing and things like that, I'm not required or mandated through Section 8 to keep up with my mental health, but for some people it will be mandated, and with the executive orders it will be mandated, and all those things. My apartment, I don't smoke crack, I don't shoot heroin, I don't do drugs in my apartment, I don't have parties, and I pay my bills, I read my Bible, I worship at home, I get on social media, and I share and warn people about what's coming, and that's it. That's my life, and that has been my life for years. I've been labeled a conspiracy theorist, crazy, so yeah, labels, they're just labels, and I'm just staying strong, and I'm going to continue to endure, and, it is what it is. People can just pick up the phone and say, oh, this person, they didn't brush their hair today, they didn't brush their teeth today, oh, their breath's a little stank, whatever. Like, you don't know the struggles that people are having behind these screens and behind closed doors. Narcissistic abuse is very real. It's very hurtful, it's very painful, and it takes a long time to heal. I endured 10 years of sexual abuse, years of satanic abuse, my mom teaching me witchcraft as a little girl. And I, started, going to Christian churches, and, I just wanted help, just seeking help. And even in the body of believers, there's people that don't care about you, and, they're not, trying to bear your burdens and everything, they're not trying to bear your burdens because, believe me, yeah, but that's part of fulfilling the law. Part of fulfilling the law is bearing one another's burdens. Yeah. And there's a lot of people in the body of so-called believers who don't even want to do that much. Lend a listening ear, right? Being supportive, just listening, letting a person vent, and I'm just doing my best, family. So keep me in prayer. I'm trying to break the toxicity and the cycles in my own life and the patterns of my own life. I'm no longer drinking and doing drugs, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful and I'm blessed. And I just have to keep enduring to the very end. And that's it. That is my purpose, to keep enduring to the end, no matter what. No matter what, I'm going to endure, no matter what the devils and demons in this world try to lie about me and say against me. I am forgiven, I am loved, and I am worthy. And like, I didn't take the vaccine, and people say that the COVID testing changes your DNA and it's a weapon, but you know what? You have to stand on the word. Okay, you have to stand on the Father's word, and he said, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Now, I don't suggest you take those vaccines because they do change your DNA. Yes, they do. And I warn people about that, during the pandemic and all that. They thought I was crazy then. But a lot of people, they died. A lot of people died and got very sick, with the 5G towers and all the weapons and all the, genetically modified food, and people are just becoming more weak and sick. So yeah, you got to keep fighting. You got to keep enduring, people. This is not a game. People in the narcissistic abuse community say that, narcissists are conspiracy theorists. It's all garbage. Garbage, garbage, garbage. Okay? They'll just, these communities, and they just make up anything to say people are narcissists. It's just ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. And I just, it's like, whatever. It's not a conspiracy anymore. This is facts. If you can't have a spiritual awakening and see what's happening around you, then, hey, you've been warned. So yeah, the compassion and the love are no longer in this world. They're just not. Empathy and compassion are very, very hard to come by today, because most people, they don't care about your troubles. They don't care about your suffering. And as believers, we're supposed to be held to a higher standard, but we don't always find that because we're not perfect. Believers aren't perfect. I know I'm not. I'm not superior and I'm not inferior. But I require a lot of help. And the system is broken. I'm not broken. The system is broken. So yeah. But I just hope y'all are staying strong, staying narc free, toxicity free. And I'm just doing my best out here, family, paying bills. I'm on a fixed income. I don't care what people say about me. Judge me with righteousness. Judge with righteous judgment. Okay? Because your days are numbered when they're coming for you and your job, and the AIs are taking over your job. And you think you're going to stay on YouTube and TikTok forever and make money and be a content creator? Well, you fell for the delusion out here. You fell for the delusion, because you're not going to be able to do anything unless you're in this digital currency, Bitcoin or whatever. You're not going to be able to buy or sell or eat anything. So we have to prepare, family. For those who know, they know, right? And it's hard. I've been isolated for years, rejected, abandoned, and I'm trying to deal with those rejection wounds and those abandonment wounds and embrace loneliness, because this world is not my home. I'm turning from my evil ways, my wicked ways. The Bible says, turn from your evil, wicked ways and repent, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And that alone, people are going to label you crazy, a religious fanatic, as my narcissistic, psychopathic, satanic mother would say. So yeah, you can call me whatever you want. I don't care. This is real. It's happening and it's going down. And your days are numbered too. Your days are numbered too. There's a lot of folks out here, they don't want to restore the brethren. They, because they could be suffering from their own stuff. They could be narcissistic. They could be religiously narcissistic, where they, really lack empathy for people like the homeless, like the immigrants, when we're supposed to, be treating foreigners, with love and respect, welcoming foreigners, this so-called Christian nation. Yeah. It's garbage. Religion is garbage. The Christians are out here bickering, complaining that they're being persecuted and hated on. Listen, we're all being persecuted and hated on, who are out here exposing the devil. So just calm down, okay? Because I don't have to put a label on myself. I don't fit into anybody's box. I grew in my spiritual awakening and my walk, okay? So thee without sin cast the first stone, right? And those who say they have no sin, you're a liar and the truth is not in you. We all have sinned and fallen short of our Heavenly Father. So let's not get self-righteous out here. Okay, and I'm speaking to myself, family. This isn't targeting anyone. I've preached to my own soul. And that's why I'm still standing and I'm still here and I'm still going and I'm still enduring, because I am crushed and hard pressed, but I'm not destroyed. I am here and I am fighting, and I've been enduring since I was a little girl from these devils, these demons, these Satanists, these liars. These 501c3 Christian pastors are nothing but lying devils, and they do not have the truth. Christianity has no truth. They say the law was done away with, that we don't have to keep the law, when it clearly says that because of lawlessness, the love of many has waxed cold. So that Christian is telling you that you don't have to love the Most High with all your heart, mind, and soul. Nah, the 10 Commandments still stand. The 10 Commandments are still standing. To love Yahuwah, the Most High, with all your heart, mind, and soul. And the second commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. Don't bear false witness against your neighbor. Yes, and that is what will happen with all these executive orders. You're going to have people bearing false witness against people just to throw away the key and put them in some kind of mental hospital. Oh, that person's crazy. Oh, that person didn't brush their hair today. Oh, well, you didn't brush your teeth today. You must be mentally ill. Or you have no teeth, because I know I sure don't. And I don't care, because I'm not a self-righteous, narcissistic, religious, goon. Because we don't judge by outer appearances. We judge with righteousness. But your outer appearance does say a lot about you. Okay? So, I believe in modesty. I believe in modesty, and that's another thing that I've had a heart change about how I dress. But there's many things that I need to change, and it doesn't happen overnight. And if you're going through narcissistic abuse and you have no family and you have no support, and even your faith family is putting you down, and they're self-righteous and they're narcissistic and they're judgmental towards immigrants, towards homeless people, or because you have missing teeth or you don't look a certain way to them, so they just deem you as an outcast and they reject you. Because I've been listening to some of these Christian channels as well. I listen to them, and they judge people, they bully people, Sure they do, and a lot of times they are hypocritical. And I don't want to live as a hypocrite, family. I'm doing my utmost best. And this world is not easy, and it's hard, and it's going to get a lot worse. It's going to get way worse. And you have to endure, and you have to be strong, and I pray you don't take that mark of the beast. But let me tell you something. If you're worshiping JC, you've been worshiping the beast in his system through Christianity, because Sunday's the first day of the week. It's not the Sabbath. Christians say we don't have to keep the Sabbath, that the Sabbath was done away with. It was hung on their pagan cross. The 10 Commandments, when the commandments very clearly says, remember the Sabbath day. Now, there's a lot of calendars out here. There's so much deception, family. But it says in the scripture that those will be called great in the kingdom, that teach others to keep his commandments. Because iniquity shall be abound, and the love of many is going to wax cold because of lawlessness. They don't put the Most High first. They live in idolatry. It's idolatry. The cross is idolatry, and they've been led astray by their idols in the image of JC, that fake, white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed devil. Okay? So, and it is what it is. It's a religion of of white supremacy. It's disgusting. It's, to me, that the root of Christianity thinks that they're superior to other races, to other nations, tribes, and tongues. It's just disgusting. If you really study Christianity, it's disgusting. Now, I recognize not all Christians are racist and prejudiced, and that's beautiful. They walk in the Spirit. But for those who really walking in the flesh, yeah, they're prejudiced, they're racist, and they're filled with hatred and bigotry. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. So, study Christianity, study the root of the religion, and that's why you're seeing all this chaos and destruction in our world, because Christianity doesn't save. Religion does not save you. You have to have a personal relationship with the Most High God of heaven and earth, the Creator. And it's not going to be a pretty walk for some of us, right? We're going to go through things. We're going to go through homelessness. We're going to go through rejection. We're going to go through abandonment. We're going to go through people saying you're crazy and kick you out of their house, because it's happened to me. My own family threw me on the streets at 18 years old. And guess what? I lived in a women's homeless shelter, and I still got my butt up every day. And I went to school, and I got my high school diploma. So let them talk. Let them talk. 18 years old. I could have quit high school, but I didn't. Because why? Because the Most High God put something in me, and I'm a fighter. And I'm a fighter. And I used to physically fight people. I would beat people up. I was mouthy, and I'm still working on it, family. I've endured it. I've endured the abuse, the systematic and systemic abuse, institutional abuse, over-medicated side effects from these meds, from pharmakia, which is witchcraft. And yeah, I have a righteous indignation of anger, and that's what drives me. But sometimes I have to watch, because that anger, sometimes it becomes self-righteous. And that's where you need balance, and you need help, and you need the body of Messiah, of believers. You need accountability. You need accountability, and hopefully the set-apart spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, also holds you accountable, because the Most High rebukes and chastens the one He loves. He rebukes and chastens the one He loves, family. So yeah, it's real out here. The struggle is real. It's hard. And, a lot of people's love has waxed cold. Societal breakdown, everything, because we left the Most High. We're not obedient to His word, His commandments. Because if we're putting Him first, we're not going to have, we can't be having these idols in our lives. JC is an idol. And that's why Christians have been led astray by idolatry. And calling on the name of other mighty ones that can't save. And then these Christians get all up in their feelings and have narcissistic injuries because you want to follow your Hebrew Messiah. And you want to, have his name, Yahushua HaMashiach. They get all up in arms about that. Oh, only the name JC makes demons flee. Well, then why are there so many demons and devils out here? Why are there so many demons and devils out here? If the name of JC can really make a demon flee, why are there so many devils out here walking around? Why aren't you, and not only that, but what does the word tell us? You cast it, okay, let's say JC cast out demon and devils. And what does he say? That you did all these wonderful works in my name, but I never knew you. I never knew you. Depart from me, ye who work lawlessness. Lawlessness. So, okay, let's just say JC cast out demons and devils. But that doesn't mean the Messiah is going to invite you into his kingdom. if you're living lawlessly and you're not adhering to his Torah and his instructions, family, I'm at the end, we're at the end of time and things are speedily wrapping up. And I just continue to pray that he finds me worthy, because I'm not worthy and I don't deserve anything good. But he's been good to me. I have food, I have clothing, I have shelter, and I've always had all my needs met, and all my prayers have been answered. The important prayers. I'm not praying for a car or a job or a new home or a fancy Lamborghini. I was adopted. I was a foster child. And I met my biological father. I knew him in my life. He had his struggles. He had his own demons, if you will. But the prayers that mattered, I met my biological mother. I gave her a hug, and I was able to get that closure, and she hugged me and she said, my baby. I'm not praying for millions of dollars. I'm not praying to stay in this demonic system. I prayed to meet my biological brother, and I met him. A week later, I met him. And then I was able to meet my niece, my biological family, but they're not believers. They're not believers, and they put these labels on people. Oh, you're crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. Stay away from that one. Rejection and abandonment all my life. All my life. So those wounds are deep, family. And it's lonely. And it's hard. And it hurts. And this social media is just a bunch of nonsense, really. It's all rooted in mostly narcissism. Self-promotion. How many followers do I have? How many subscribers do I have? Selling merchandise. Selling you merch. They will make merchandise out of you. Come on, family. It's high time to wake up. They only care about their pockets getting filled. I'm not here to ask you for money. I mean, if there was an emergency, and I had an emergency and nobody helped me. You know why? Because my help has to come from the Most High God, the creator of heaven and earth, Yahuwah, through his true son, Yahushua HaMashiach. Because, there's a lot of scammers out here. So people, they have to use wisdom and discernment. You don't know who I am behind the screen. There's a lot of frauds out here. Or go get a job, or do this, or do that. They're just judgmental. Nobody's going to have a job. Who's going to have a job with AI taking over? When people are literally getting excited for firing people and replacing them with AI. They're getting excited. Because why? They're psychopaths. That's why they are narcissistic psychopaths. Getting excited to fire you and replace you with AI. And putting you on the streets. And you're going to be homeless. And you're not going to be able to pay your bills. So, don't be so quick to judge people on disability and food stamps, because your days are numbered. And I've grown up with that toxic shame. And that's one of the things I'm working on. I feel guilty for even buying food, for crying out loud. Because so many people, where'd all your money go? Where'd all your money go? To food. I mean, yeah, there was a time I was doing the drugs and the alcohol and living wickedly, but people can change and they need help. They don't need your judgment all the time. Just help the person, especially if they're not using and they're paying bills and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing with the money, And I worked at Taco Bell. I worked at Taco Bell. I worked at a grocery store. But the doctor told me that I don't have to work. I have a doctor's note, and I'm legit. So, not everybody out here is a fraud. Not everybody out here is frauding the system. And these people are so disgusting. They rather send you to a death camp because you can't pay your bills or you have some kind of mental illness, which some people are actually suffering from narcissistic abuse and toxic families who throw them on the streets. And then you're in the street and now you're in shelters. People steal your stuff. There's racism in the shelters. It's hard. It's hard. And a lot of these shelters are corrupt. They only care about the money. They don't care about you as a person, as an individual. And a lot of the shelters that are Christian are only giving you the food, but they're not giving you the word. Or you have to join their church to get help. No, I don't want to join a 501c3 government-run church. Get behind me, Satan. Christian. No, I don't want to join your church. I've had enough of the church because it's all hypocrisy. I was in a church one time. It was a Sabbath-keeping church, and the man rubbed my arm, and I told the pastor, "Oh, I've known him for years. He wouldn't do that. These men aren't protecting women and children in these churches. That's where all the pedophiles are, in the Christian church. In the Christian church." And they wonder why their Christian churches are going to hell in a handbasket, and your Christianity, nobody wants it. Because they're harboring pedophiles. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Where's the outrage about all the Christians who are protecting pedophiles? Oh no. We're being persecuted, playing the victim. Playing victim. No, your churches protect pedophiles and rapists. And your men don't protect women and children. Your men are narcissistic. Your men do not protect women and children. I remember when I was studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses, I saw a little girl. Her dad was a elder in the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall. She was a little girl, and her artwork was demonic. And I remember one time when I walked in there in that Kingdom Hall, and I saw a man, an elder, with the lights off in the back with that little girl. And my spirit knew something was wrong. Nobody is protecting these children. So when these Christians are talking about protecting children, it's a joke to me. It's a joke. You're not protectors of children. You're just not. You're not protectors of children. The foster care system, they're not protectors of children. The churches, you're not protectors of children. So yeah, people have had about enough of your Christianity and your false teachings and doctrines of devils, because that's what's in the church mostly. Devils. And people protecting devils. So yeah, we're in perilous times, and I just pray that y'all are doing well. I haven't really been on live and made a video. Like I said, I'm dealing with a lot behind closed doors. Loneliness, family problems, personal problems, and again, nobody cares. Nobody wants to bear your burdens, and it's going to get harder, so it's best really to just lean on the Most High God in this time. Lean on the Most High God. Because he's really your only friend. At least he's mine, and then heaven forbid trying to make connections on so-called social media where people ghost you. They ghost you, and they're narcissistic, and it's like, or they, and they ghost you. You're in the middle of pouring out your heart and they ghost you. Nah, I'm good, family. I don't really open up my DMs to nobody anymore. I've had to, learn so much on this journey. I've had to learn so much, and I'm still trying to learn a lot and hold my composure, remain calm, not be so angry, because it is an angry situation. It's frustrating because there's no love. There's no love out here. There's no love. There's no fruit of the Spirit. Not everybody's walking in the fruit of the Spirit, family. And I haven't walked perfectly either. But I'm trying to heal, and I'm trying to read the word, and I'm trying to endure, and I'm trying to, be careful. Be careful. Use wisdom and discernment. Be wise as serpents and harmless as a dove, because the days are wicked. So, family, for those, who get it, I thank you. Just keep me in prayer. I'm going to keep fighting the good fight of faith, because I'm in housing and I receive government assistance, and I don't care who likes it or doesn't like it, because your job's not guaranteed. You put your faith in that job and that dollar, you're making a big mistake. You put your faith in this beast system, you are making your greatest mistake in thinking that this government cares about you, because they don't. And the executive orders are already written. So don't judge those on assistance, because you're not going to be able to stay on YouTube forever. You're going to have to bow down to the beast or be killed. That's your option. Bow down to the beast, accept the digital currency. And it's not all about digital currency. See, that's where Christians seem to go wrong. You think that's all it is? Oh, we just got to not take this digital identity and the mark of the beast and the vaccine or blah, blah, blah. No, it's who do you worship? Who do you worship? You keep going to that Sunday church. Sunday's not the Sabbath. Sunday's the first day of the week. So you're breaking the commandments. So if you're worshiping on Sunday, you have already accepted the mark of the beast. If you're on the Gregorian calendar, you already are worshiping the beast and his image, JC. The picture. I just seen something out there that, where was it? I forget. Maybe Russia. I don't know. That JC, it is their king or something like that, and they have the picture of JC with the blonde hair and blue eyes, the image of Satan, the beast, JC. That's not our Messiah. So see, they are still stuck in the matrix. I'm not sure which country. It might have been Russia or one of these countries. Yeah, they have a picture of, they say Jesus Christ is king and he's their Lord and Savior with his picture. You keep worshiping the image of the beast and being led astray by that image, because the pride of your heart has deceived many. And they're going to follow that image all the way to the pits of hell and stay in this system, because they think it's just about digital currency and the mark of the beast and vaccines. That's all. That's as far as their spiritual awakening has gone. No, you've been worshiping the beast. Every Sunday you worship the devil, Christian. Every Sunday you're worshiping Baal. You're worshiping JC. You're not worshiping the Father in spirit and truth. So he calls us to come out of these 501c3 churches. He calls you out for a reason. So what are Christians worshiping? The devil. If the Most High God commanded you to come out of these churches and come out from among them and be ye separate, what are the Christians worshiping? Satan. So you're going to lose a lot of people when you wake up from this matrix and you really wake up. You really wake up. Because it's like, it's no different. It's no different in the faith. Oh, you want to say Yahushua, so you're a sacred namer. Whatever. Call me what you want. My Father's name is sacred, and it's the name above all names. So I'm going to proclaim Yahuwah through Yahushua HaMashiach, the name above all names. Yahushua, the King of Kings. I don't care who likes it. I'm not here to people please. I'm not here for that anymore. You get to a point in life where you just don't care about people pleasing and about other people's criticisms and opinions, because I've done the researching. And he came in his Father's name. He came in his Father's name. So names have meaning and names matter. And it says those who have wisdom calculate the number of the beast. It is a number of a man. And it wasn't originally 666. It was the Christendom symbolism. The name JC. Iesus. Iesus. So they used to call him Iesus. And then they called him JC. So it's not just about some microchip under the skin, family. Satan is cunning. Satan is cunning. And he's got all, if not most, of the Christians. Because the pride of your heart has deceived you. So I'm not a Christian. I am a follower of the way, the truth, and the life, because no man gets to the Father except through him. Religion can't save you. Religion will not save you. Calling yourself Christian doesn't save you. So if Christians want to think I'm a horrible person because I don't want to be labeled and put in a box, let them think whatever they want. Their opinion of me means nothing. As long as I'm not denying the Messiah and the Son of Man, it doesn't matter what you call yourself. You want to call yourself a Christian? Go ahead. But don't criticize and put me down and belittle me and say I'm a bad person because I don't want to be called Christian. You know? Because I'm still a believer and I still worship at home and I'm warning people about the destruction that's coming. You know, I'm a watchman and I'm warning people about what is coming to this earth. You know, FEMA camps, death camps. And all glory belongs to the Most High God, Yahuwah. So yeah, they can have all the weapon warfare they want. Whether warfare weapons, I mean, you know. They can, whatever, but all glory goes to the Most High. All glory belongs to the Creator of heaven and earth, who's in control of it all. Now, these channels, they want to, they're doing weather warfare and weather manipulation. And listen, the Bible said they gave their power over to the beast. They gave their power over to the beast. So Yahuwah is allowing this to happen. All glory be to him, because he allows this to happen. And he's giving man time to repent and turn from evil. So he's in control of the weather. And some of the weather, they can use they can use weather warfare and weapons all they want. But I'm pretty sure the Most High God is somewhere in the mix. And he can make that storm even stronger and stronger and stronger. So they can do whatever they do up in the sky and whatever. But at the end of the day, the Most High God, he's the one directing it all. So so most of these Christian channels, they just talk about, they just bring light to the weather warfare. But what about, the Most High God being in control and allowing it to happen? Because they gave their power over to this beast system. They voted for this. They voted for this. Your vote does not matter. Your vote does not count. So people put their faith in man. They put them in political parties and movements and, social ideologies or whatever, I mean, hey, that's on them. My faith is in Yahushua HaMashiach, the King of Kings. And I just pray that he finds me worthy and that I keep going and I keep enduring, family, because the days are evil. And my homelessness was because of narcissistic abuse. Shoved into hospitals, putting me on meds, labeling me. Because once they label you, they can manipulate other people's opinion about you. And I've been reading the Bible since I was 5 years old, as a little girl, a child in my room, while my satanic family would sit at the kitchen table doing evil. Ouija boards, tarot cards, incense, demons in the home, I've seen demons. I've seen the demonic. And it's, yeah. So you can't talk to these secular world unbelieving people because they'll put a label on you. They put medicine in you. Pharmakia, and that just messes you up more. And then you're healing from all the side effects of pharmakia. And then they're telling you you're crazy and you don't know how to, and you can't care for yourself. So now we're going to involuntarily put you in here and shove meds down your throat and give you injections with meds in it. Yeah, fam, it's real. So let's just be kind to one another. Stop judging people that are homeless. Stop with the nonsense, because we're all about to suffer under this Antichrist beast system. We're all suffering. Food prices skyrocketing. People are suffering in Gaza because of a man-made famine. The synagogue of Satan. And you can't talk about the synagogue of Satan. You're not allowed to criticize them, because you will be in a death camp too. I heard the people in Texas, they had to sign some kind of pledge that they're not going to criticize Israel in order to get any kind of help and assistance after that huge major flood that happened in Texas. And all their homes got destroyed. Don't get so haughty in your spirit. Oh, go get a job. Go get a job. Yeah, you can lose it all tomorrow. You be that same person saying, oh, that's a bum right there. Get a job. And then boom, your whole life is destroyed by a tornado, a hurricane, fire, an earthquake. So don't be so quick and haughty in your spirit to judge other people who are on assistance. Because trust me, family, the days are wicked and your days are numbered. Shalom.